Welcome to livery.
Well, what I was confused about was your dad obviously like took the green flag.
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
No, he basically did 2 laps in the first practice and the car broke and we never got it.
Oh no! So he didn't even take
okay.
for both races.
Yeah.
What do they race? Saturday, Sunday, or like Friday,
Saturday,
Saturday?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, let's see.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, bring your mic up. I just want to make sure we're
Hello, test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3.
cool. Yeah, just try to stay close to it.
Stay close, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, that's why I was confused because I saw the 2 white BMWs and I figured one of them was Joe's.
No,
but
there was a third guy, Roberts, who has a white BMW.
got it. Okay,
So that's how you might have been getting confused.
yeah, because I was looking at the standings, going, "Where the hell is Joe?"
Yeah. It was an ECU, I don't know, ECU problem. There was like misfiring on a certain cylinder and
Oh,
no one could figure it out, unfortunately.
so you just had to park it for the whole weekend. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Very tough.
How's it doing now?
Now it randomly started working. Like we got back to the shop and just fired it up, no misfires. So,
Maybe the heat.
well, it pissed rain on us on the setup day, like crazy Austin thunderstorm. And we're wondering if it was outside, it got kind of wet and maybe something happened where it just never really dried out enough. But it's just, now the problem is you can't just get a new ECU because Germany has to flash them to the VIN properly because it's a motorsport thing.
Right.
So you're sitting there with BMW Motorsport and they're just like, we can't do anything. No one can do, if it's truly an ECU problem, you can't do anything.
Do they have support kind of all around the country, or does it have to get shipped back to a?
Yeah, it'd have to
place?
come from Stuttgart in
Oh,
Germany.
really?
Yeah.
But
Oh,
BMW does have like a U.S. motorsport like office, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so there is
Yeah.
support for the U.S. It's just
For whatever
harnesses,
reason.
whatever else, it's serialized.
And
probably
even
comes
when we're
from-
there, like the BMW techs, they're always going back and forth to Germany and talking to people in Germany. Like that's definitely where they're stationed more. That's
fully
where it is,
centralized,
right? So anyways, it was just shitty because Joe didn't get to run it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's his mindset when he shows up to Dakota and doesn't get to race?
Yeah, he's upset. He's pissed, and he
Yeah.
just doesn't stop. And we didn't even have our truck driver that event. Like he brought the truck there and then had another thing. So he usually does tires and fuel and everything. So he wasn't there. So I was doing all the tires and fuel and driving. And then the 2 guys were trying to diagnose Joe's car, but still make sure, my car was good.
Yeah.
So we already run a super light squad, but then it was just like to then have that. I mean, we were up like every night till like 10, 11 o'clock. We tried everything, changing, ignition wire harnesses. It just
your team
never
is
worked.
so awesome because you guys, like you said, you run super light
Yeah.
and lean. You look at the other teams in the paddock and they have 2-3 times as many guys, and you guys are competitive.
Yeah. It's cool because we get to all hang out together, but it's exhausting.
Where do the cars live? Here?
They live in central New York.
They do?
Syracuse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that where you're from?
Yeah.
Syracuse area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But once the season starts, like when we did Sonoma, they just kind of live in the trailer. And then because we have such a long break right now, then they go back to the shop in New York for like the break. And then once we hit VIR, they'll again kind of live on the road.
Uh-huh.
So
And the team is Rigid Speed?
Rigid Speed, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're also in Syracuse.
Yeah.
How's your dad as a spectator?
He's honestly good.
Yeah.
Like he started spotting. He talks a lot, and I guess I wasn't super used to that.
Is he a good spotter?
He is. He's
Okay.
a good spotter, but sometimes, like especially that first race when I spun and went back up through the field, I was kind of like just was trying to focus on what I was doing. He kept like giving me like, "You're doing great," and I'm just. He gets very amped up, and at COTA you can get all the way up in the tower. There's like this huge tower, and you can see every single corner.
Like the big scary one
Yes,
with
yeah.
Okay. So he was spotting from up there.
Yeah, but he could see everywhere I was. Like usually you might get like a few
couple
corners.
corners,
You can't see me. But he was just like, he could see every turn I made. And he said he didn't take his eyes off me for 40 minutes.
So were you listening to a spotter or were you listening to your dad? Like were you able to compartmentalize or were you like, Dad, take it easy?
I did tell him to shut up a few times. Because but he's not meant to be a spectator in anything he does.
Yeah.
So I think he handled it okay, but it's tough. Like if I was in his position and I showed up, right, and then it's like you run 2 laps and then you just got to sit there. It's like
Yeah.
man, I just want to go home. So
Yeah.
For sure.
I offered to give him my car because, he's the boss, but he's like, no, it's just not really how
He doesn't
it
want the
works.
slow car.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, I would never, he doesn't want to be caught dead in that car. Yeah. It's like, I'd rather DNF.
You got to tell us about the two cars. Give us the story.
Okay.
Yeah. Like one's quicker than the other.
Yeah, I mean, so we've had the cars for 3 seasons now, and I'm always running data with my dad, Joe. And so we're always overlaying this stuff. And just constantly, we've always seen, we'll come out of corners, I'll be quicker, in the corner, be on throttle sooner. And he'll just always close the delta back down on straightaways. So, and then he's 1, 2, 3 miles an hour quicker at the end of the straightaway. And traditionally, if you're faster mid corner, you get on power sooner, you would think that carries down the straightaway. And for whatever reason, I'm just never quicker than Joe down the straight. And so it's like, as soon as we pull 4th gear, you see our speed curve, mine just starts to die down and Joe's just really picks up.
Same gearing?
Same gearing, yeah.
Have you had them both dynoed?
We haven't had them dynoed. So that's kind of like the only thing we really need to do. We've done compression tests. We worked the BMW Motorsport on it, but for whatever reason, I just, and even if you look at some of the races from last year against Garrett, like at Virginia really sticks out to me. Like I'm right coming out of the oak tree corner, right on his bumper. And he pulls away down that whole long straightaway. And so you would expect you could at least stay in the draft with someone with a car this big that punches a huge hole in the air. It's like, just all last year, I couldn't keep up with Garrett on the straightaway. When I overlay data with Joe, there's just something funky, but we just haven't been able to figure it out. And, every time we get our hopes up that it's something, we changed this, we dropped the whole rear end out. So maybe it loosened up just the general rolling speed. Maybe the caliper was seized up. I mean, you name it, we've been like, yeah, this is it. And then it's never does it. So
Have you had to change your driving style? Like, are you driving around it? Or?
I mean, I'm so aware of it now. I'm like, I always am just so focused on the exits.
Yeah.
But you kind of already doing that anyways when you get onto like these long big corners. So
Oak Tree is a good example. Like,
you
just need a good run regardless of what you're in. Yeah.
And all these hairpins at Coda too. It's like,
Right.
I almost just come to accept it sometimes. I'm like, I just know that on these long straights, I just need to either be more defensive or, like Road America, I get really concerned about that track because that's just filled with straightaways and uphills. So,
and Coda punishes you too because it's a lot of point shoot, long straights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I mean, I could only do so much with it, but it's definitely been a discrepancy with the cars for whatever reason.
And Joe doesn't want to trade you.
No.
So we talking a couple of tenths?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
have you done the math? And I'm sorry if you haven't. The margin that Walsh is beating you by, if you multiply that times the number of laps, does that come down to a couple of tenths?
Probably. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I would say the margin between Garrett and I last year was much more representative. I mean, Garrett and I feel like we were so similar to like less than a tenth of a second. And there's races where we were just nose to tail for 40 minutes. This year, I don't really know. Sonoma, Walsh and I were very close, but really Sebring and Coda, I mean, he's been 10 seconds faster than everyone. So
Coda's also, I mean, that's power dependent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think last year with Garrett, the big difference was my top line speed. I mean, I think when Garrett has me by half a tenth on pole and in the races, I mean, that's all it really takes when you're driving kind of at that level. It's like you need every little bit of help. So
how long are the races? 40 minutes?
40 minutes.
40 minute sprints?
Yeah.
Do you have to manage tires or will they last the 40 minutes pretty easily?
Honestly, it's more track dependent. Like Sonoma, before they repaved it, has super bad tire degradation.
Yeah.
I would say now it's kind of like everyone just rips them, and everyone's just dealing with tires for the last 10 minutes. Of course, person who does, when you run off the front and you have a 5-second gap in the first 20 minutes, you can manage your tires better, right?
Yeah.
So there is some management. I do think that Pirelli's, they do a good job of lasting, and you get 2 sets of tires for 2 races. So a lot of times that first race, you're putting a sticker back on.
Yeah.
And then race 2, you're running your qualifying tires. So
how does the aero wash affect degradation? Like, do the tires wear quicker if you're right behind someone?
Yeah, not so much. I mean, these cars have they really have such little aero to them that I just don't feel like you get much of that.
You don't lose a lot of downforce.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
The bigger thing is overheating because it's like a motorsport car, but it's very much a street car with just like a roll cage and other stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
When you're behind a car, like I was at Coda, I was fighting with the Acura for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting a lot of overheating warnings just because you're not getting any clean air,
Okay.
so you're just sucking in exhaust fumes and stuff like that. So they're like, yeah, get some fresh, clean air. And it's just like, yeah. So
they're a factory produced race
they
car
are,
though, right?
They are. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're motorsport built, the cage, all that sort of interior stuff is awesome. But at the end of the day, it's still very much just the stock motor. I mean, there's like different brakes. We have a bigger radiator cooling kit on it, but it's very mundane, especially compared to something like a Cup car or even like a GT4 car.
Yeah.
So yeah.
One thing I've wondered about, so you guys have, it's mixed class racing, right? But it's also within the class, you have multiple manufacturers. When there's a new car that comes into the field, it always feels like they have an advantage for a while. I don't know if it's just to give the manufacturer love and the BOP is like lenient for them, or if they're just trying to figure out where the BOP should be. It's got to be so frustrating if you've been running the same car for 3 seasons and then a Honda comes in or whatever else, and they're obviously quicker.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they BOP it and it comes back in, but it costs you 2 races or whatever. Like, what's that like as a driver?
The Honda thing, in my opinion, was a joke. It really was. Last year was a joke.
What's the Honda thing?
So they had the Honda Civic,
the Civic
last year in the series,
for a while, I mean, they were
like a different
people.
class. Yeah, like at NOLA, for example, they were 2.5 seconds quicker than Garrett and I in the rest of the TCX field. And what happened there is they tried to take a TCR car. That car's made for like IMSA racing in the TCR class. And they tried to bring it down into TCX. And it was never purpose built for TCX. So they bring this car that has more power, more aero, all this sort of sequential gearbox. And they're like, yeah, we'll just dial down the power. They could just never get it right, is kind of long story short. So I think to your point, Michael, when they do bring a new car, I do think there's a little bit of politics behind it of like, for instance, Acura just built this TCX car meant for the class, but there's going to show up and then be dead last. That doesn't look good for Acura, right? And then Acura's like, well, screw you guys, SRO and TC. We don't want to be a part of this. So then, the whole, that's why I always loved MX5 Cup when I did it, or Porsche Cup, because it's just true spec racing. So here, now it's like, you have the BOP crap that you deal with in any series, GT3, GT4. And so it's frustrating because I feel like we're kind of the guinea pigs in the M2, and then they never give us anything. And so it's always just trying to make the other cars faster to beat us, I guess. And slower. Yeah.
Is there a dialogue that you can have with the organization, or is it kind of a one-way street?
Oh yeah, no, trust me. There's in the paddock. Yeah, there's a lot going on, but it's just, they basically tell you to they just say, we're working on it, or, what do you know? I mean, it got heated last year with the Civics because that NOLA event was so ridiculous. So we all go to the tech guy. Yeah. But he's just like, he was very much like, what do you know? Because you see the BOP changes. So they'll say Honda Civic, power from 5 to 4. But does that mean they got more power or less power? We don't really know, right? Sometimes a lower ECU map means more power, and sometimes it means less power. So then we're like, well, they're already 2 seconds faster. Does that mean you just gave them more power? Yeah. And so the whole thing last year was a mess. And I feel bad for Honda too, because then, there was they didn't have the proper middle ground to be a TCX car. They were either too slow or they were too fast. And so they could never balance it out. And that's why that car's not in here anymore. Okay. And so the Acura came in as a purpose-built TCX car. But now the problem is it's a front-wheel drive car going against rear-wheel drive cars, and that's a car that you'll see the tires fall off. Like race 2, Celso Netto's very quick, but give him 15 minutes and he's basically done. And it's the
fronts that just get cooked.
Yeah, it's not like he overcooked the tires.
Exactly. They're doing everything. They're steering, they're putting the power down. And so us in the BMWs were just kind of like waiting for him to fall off. So I love spec racing, but
it's so tricky though, right? Like you have 3 or 4 different cars that are made by completely different people. Everything is different about them. And then you have an organization that's like, okay, we'll try to make them the same. Yeah. Like it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And there are always so many variables that favor even if they have it perfectly at one track on one day, it's not going to be perfect the next. It's not going to be perfect the next track.
From the outside looking in, it does feel like they give them a race or two of like, Honda, like this is awesome, and then they're like, okay, we need to like pull it back. But with the amount of money you guys are spending to race, the amount of like competitiveness that you guys have, of course, and like season championship points on the line, like that's got to be so frustrating when guys are just showing up, winning by 2 seconds a lap, and you're like, well, okay.
Sometimes you just got to take, we're not going to be the fastest car, but we got to be the fastest BMW. You just got to take what you can get and walk away from it. But that's a job I would not want, would be to like do BOP, because someone's always going to be unhappy, and so.
Right.
Oh, so yeah. I think racing drivers,
it's a no-win job.
Some of the most opinionated people when it comes to their own performance.
So. Well, it's never their fault.
Of course. The driver teams are probably my favorite things in motorsport.
Car setup.
So you raced Spec Miata in like 2014,
I raced MX5 Cup.
Right. That's what I meant. MX5 Cup.
2013, 2012, I did Spec Miata.
NASA or SCCA?
SCCA.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then really before that was just like PCA type of stuff.
Did you kart before that? Like how'd you get into motorsports?
Really just my dad, long story short. Okay. He was always a 911 enthusiast. And what he'll tell you is he was afraid I was going to take the car out like when he was at work or something. And so we went to a driving school at Lime Rock, Skip Barber School. Okay.
I worked there. Yeah.
Nice.
That was my summer job.
Okay.
Yep.
And whatever. So it was more like defensive driving, but then we did like an autocross event at the end, and, I guess kind of sprouted from there. We had a private club called Monticello, which is just north of New York City. And so then we kind of got involved with that as that was built. He had a Lotus Exige at the time. You show up, you start doing track laps, and then it just goes from there. And then, that was probably 2010, 2009-ish. So I was like fresh 16. I was like barely, I don't even know if I really had my full driver's license.
Yeah.
But when you go to a private club, they don't really care. But that was like how I learned to drive a stick shift, even was in that Lotus Exige, heel towing and all that stuff. So I never I didn't have like the defensive driving you learn on the street that a lot of people, if you pick up racing at, 40 years old or something, like sometimes unlearning that is a hard part. But I never really karted when I was little.
Yeah.
I just got into it right as I could drive. And then
I don't think karting, it doesn't seem like it's as big in the Northeast. Like you have to seek it out. There's not.
Probably not. I don't think it's really as big in the US as in general, but the kids who do kart are significantly better. Yeah.
For sure. But there's like around North Carolina, there's
totally.
a lot of Florida,
Florida,
New Orleans. Around here, we have a great kart track here. But the Northeast just doesn't seem like it's as big of a thing, which is sad because, it's seasonal. So I get it, right? Like you build a track and it doesn't run 4 months a year, which is rough.
Yeah.
But you ran in the MX5 Cup. Was that the NC or was it right?
That was when we were still building the MX5 Cups. That was before Mazda even built them. Right now, Mazda Motorsports builds all the cars, right? This was when you would still take an MX5 Cup, gut it.
So you had to do it yourself.
Yeah, so the teams did. There was like a Lara Racing, Hoover Speed, I forgot all the teams, but you were still building the cars.
Got it.
And so they were just, I don't know what version they were. They were normal 5 speeds or something. This is when Kenton Cook ran it, who's around now, he almost wins everything in GT4.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Patrick Gallagher was in there, Joey Bickers.
So sealed motor, the same transmission as well?
Yeah. I mean, it was still a spec series, but it's just back then it's like, people they're just not as homologated because it's not like Mazda builds 40 of them and says, okay, here's the field for the year.
Yeah. It's a company called Fliss.
Okay.
Todd Fliss. Down in Florida.
Does all the modification.
Yep. So it's I'm sure a contract. It's an agreement with Mazda where every Spec Miata car is purchased from Fliss Performance. Right. Yeah.
So, that was 2014, and we did.
How big were the fields?
The fields were still big, and that was I don't know. I want to say maybe 25 cars or something.
Was it as rowdy as it is now?
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, it was nuts. When we did the streets of Houston with IndyCar that year too, which was just gnarly. We went up to like Mossport, Sebring. I mean, it was cool. It was it's just the same bump drafting. Just you're losing mirrors every race. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Really teaches you how to race, but you watch that series now, it's like, it's as legit as it comes. So
it's a field of killers.
Yeah.
There really aren't back markers anymore. No. I mean, obviously there are people that are running in the top 10 consistently, but man, all the way up and down the field, everyone
it's
is
no
quick.
joke.
Oh, I love it. Oh, it's so fun. So you've raced Miatas, Porsche Cup.
Yeah, 15, 16 was Cup. Yeah, and before that, I ran a Cayman.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a built Cayman that we ran in World Challenge back in the day.
Pirelli. Oh yeah,
Pirelli World Challenge. Yep.
I remember that.
That was 2013.
Did you race here in that?
We didn't do this event. No. Okay. We did Mid Ohio. We did Coda, and then before that, we had a Porsche Boxer that was built by a Porsche team
with like PCA or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
F class. I remember PCA F class. Yep. Yep. So. Yeah.
So which one was your favorite? Like through your career, like what's the best racing, the best car?
I mean, there's only one answer here.
Yeah, I mean, my personal best experience was when I ran the GT3 Cup with GT Motorsport for sure.
That's what I'm talking about, James. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Come on. Yeah, I mean,
how is it better than the MX-5 Cup?
I had a rough MX-5 Cup because my teammate and I we had such a bad sort of relationship that we had such a sort of stifled like paddock where you're supposed to be like working together, and it was really not a good sort of relationship. So I didn't have a good experience when I ran MX-5 Cup. I feel like the racing was great. We were rookie of the year. We finished 4th overall, but when I ran with NGT, it was like to get coached by Brian Sellers and Wolf Hensler and to have like a team like NGT, it was just like, and
was then your first time with a proper team?
Well, I would say MX-5 Cup, we were with Hoover Speed, which was a proper team. Like Michael Cooper was kind of the coach in that camp, but there was just some weird stuff that went on between the camp that I didn't really love. But NGT was like, I would say my first, like, that was like legit. You know, and then to be racing Porsches, well, I mean, it was sick. So, yeah, I would say the 991 was pretty cool. I did drive a 997. I didn't run it in IMSA Cup, but the 997 is a fun car with the sequential. But yeah, I would just say those 2 years of Porsche Cup were probably the most fun. I would say the racing, you're not necessarily like always door to door like you are on MX-5 Cup and just like banging bumpers off and shit. But it was still just cool to just be in that camp again, learn Mario Fahnbacher we had for 2016, Brian Sellers. I mean, and
it's fun to go faster than 100 miles an hour.
It is.
It's like 112, depending on how hard you drop it off a building.
Did Papa Joe race those as well, like the Cup together?
He did, yeah. Nice. 2015 though, he was in it. So 2015 was when the 991 came out.
Okay.
That was when like the Platinum class had the new version or whatever.
Right. He was in a 997.
He was in a 997 the first year. So he was still running the older car. And then 2016, he moved up into a 991. But yeah, he ran it also. So.
Gotcha. Did the 997s have a slight power advantage? I mean, I know it's the same motor, but it felt like they pulled a little harder than the 991s did.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say a fast 997 driver was like barely, like they were not like 3 seconds slower than 991. I mean, they were, and a lot of times if you had a rain race, some dudes in 997s would be quicker than people in 991. So they were very close. But overall, I think the 991 they might have different tire sizes or just a little bit different aero.
Bigger
and stuff.
Car.
Yeah. So we were always, you'd always be a second to 2 seconds quicker than a 997. But
it's not a very big delta compared to like what they do now, right? Like the 992 versus the
exactly.
.2, like it's huge.
You weren't
difference.
just like driving around a 997.
Right.
You just like put it to the floor and you go around them. Like, so.
How was the transition, or what was the biggest transition going from mid-engine Porsche to front-engine BMW?
I would say a bigger transition for me was going from like the Mazdas to the Porsches, because the Cup car with the rear engine is like, it's such a unique driving style with how you have to drive it.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm a little bit more used to the front engine sort of type of car. I think one thing that was different was after 2016, I took like a 4 or 5 year hiatus from racing. I actually did shifter kart racing after that. So I feel like I just jumped back in and just started driving again. So it wasn't like I got out of a Cup car and like went right to this BMW.
Got it.
But yeah, the 911 has a very unique driving style of really driving it in, deep into the corner on the brakes, getting it rotated, and then basically hitting the gas and getting it back out. So that's where I really credit NGT and Ramis for like really coaching how to do it. Because if you just like show up and like try to get in it and go be competitive, you're like, can't do it. So,
and you did super well those years, yeah.
We did. I think we did okay. It's the second year we were second overall.
Yeah,
we finished.
I mean, that's pretty okay. In
Story
Cup,
of my life, I guess. But yeah, I mean, the first year I think we were fourth overall. But that was to the Elliott Skier ended up winning it that year. He was a rookie. So he won Rookie of the Year, won the championship. Now he's a very good, GT3 driver and stuff. So, and then the second year, we lost to Jesse Lazar, who was kind of a Canadian karting phenom back in the day, and now he's obviously a great driver. So it wasn't bad. I think the highlight was getting invited to the Porsche Young Driver Academy at Barber that year. So that was cool. And
what was that like?
That was pretty wild. I mean, like you'd get picked up by Patrick Long in the morning from your hotel in like a Panamera, and he'd like just like rip on the road to the racetrack, and the whole experience was pretty cool. But it was like, I mean, you had to take like Porsche history tests where like they give you like the first day, like you don't even get in the race car. You do like media training, and like they quiz your knowledge on Porsche. Like how many victories does Porsche have at Le Mans? Stuff like that, right?
How many victories does Porsche have it?
Did they ask how many? They asked how many Panzer tanks they've manufactured.
Yeah. So, and then you do driving stuff, but you're the only one out there, and every time you go across start finish, there's just like 10 people in like white Porsche shirts with clipboards, and they just like watch you go by, and they're like,
"Is that intimidating?"
It is, because like, what are they writing down?
Yeah.
But the coolest part was they would make a change on the car, like they disconnect the sway bar or something, and then you go out and do 2 laps, and you have to tell them like what happened to the car.
Oh,
so they,
tell them what they did.
Yeah. Or
at
least give them like,
interesting.
the rear was looser on entry or something, So the second day was much more like a lot more driver. But like Trent Hinman was there, Andrew Long, Matt McMurray, and me were the 4 drivers of that class,
Oh, cool.
I guess.
Wow.
So it was super cool. And that was always one of my goals when I was running the Porsche Cup, was being invited to that. And then, so yeah, that was cool. And then after that, I really just stopped. I didn't race after that.
Really?
So,
you say you did some shifter stuff?
yeah, we got in shifter karts, probably like 2 seasons and stuff. And
Where would you race?
we did a lot of Florida stuff. We did like
Awesome.
the winter tour in Florida,
Oh, cool.
Orlando Kart Complex. We did like a street course in St. Petersburg. We did some stuff. We did GoPro Complex in North Carolina.
Yeah.
We did we would do Pittsburgh a lot too. Pittsburgh,
Like pit race?
pit race. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pit race complex. There's some stuff in New York we did.
Is St. Pete, is that in the parking lot of the Tropicana?
Field.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
How'd you do with the
I
parking lot races?
I got smoked every race I did.
Did you really?
Every race I did. Yeah.
I mean,
it's like brutal.
you're jumping into an absolute shark tank.
Yeah.
If you're competing in the Florida Winter Tour.
I was like I'm 30 now. I was probably, I don't know, 26, 27.
Yeah.
The Masters class starts at 30. So I'm like, not that I even wanted to be in the Masters, but I'm with like the 18-year-old kids. I'm the oldest one in there. Kids who've been karting their whole life, and like, I don't know what it was. I could never, ever be competitive. I just was so far off the pace always.
Shifters are a different animal as well, where even here locally, I race karts here. And just this past weekend, was looking at the shifter class, which is pretty big here. We get like 12, 13, 14, 15 people. And, there are people that I know are just brilliantly fast in everything, kind of struggle with a shifter because it's a different driving style. You have to manage the act of shifting while also doing all the other things. And it's a lot to wrap your head around. I think it's almost a secondary skill set.
Oh yeah.
Is it shifters specifically or karts in general?
Shifters specifically are different than I think every other class of kart. That's the way it seems. I don't know if you've driven any of the single speed.
I did a few single speed stuff. But there's a lot of people who will never take the jump from single speed to shifters. They're fastest in single speeds, but they won't go up to a shifter.
And the other way around too. I don't understand it, but there are drivers that you see that are mid pack in the single speed, and it clicks when they get into a shifter, and then they're running at the front.
Yeah,
it's very different. Like the karts. Obviously, they have front brakes where, there's differences in the karts, but the driving style, everything, I don't get it because I don't race shifters, but like, man, it's another level.
It's similar
for
to a
sure.
cup car because you have the power now in a car. Where a single speed,
Right.
it's so momentum driven, right?
Right.
You're just like trying not to scrub speed, but a shifter, a lot of times you're driving in it deep, getting it rotated, and then getting out of the corner because you have the
Dig
power.
out.
Yeah.
And you can cook tires so much easier in shifter
Yeah.
class. And in Florida Winter Tour, do you get one set for the?
I forgot what it was.
Because I know here
forgot what it
everyone
was.
races. You get one set of tires for the weekend.
Yeah.
So for the slower classes,
I think you're
it's
right.
fine.
Like after qualifying, that's like your set of tires. Qualifying, pre-final, final, or something.
Yeah.
It's like all the same.
You're on
set
one
of tires.
set.
Yeah.
So tire management,
Yeah.
you have people that are really, really quick in a shifter, but have no tires left halfway through the
It's
main.
just a brutal thing to drive. No suspension, and the amount of G forces you pull is honestly more than a cup car in a lot of cases. And
Yeah.
it's just like if you eat like too much food before your heat, dude, it's like it is like coming up. It's like it is brutal. Like, man.
I mean, so obviously you're fast as hell in a cup car. Like that didn't translate to shifters.
No.
We've been talking about getting Michael into
Yeah.
a shifter at some point.
It's fun. I mean, I think it's cool to try it out, but yeah.
If you're on track alone, I'm sure you feel a lot faster.
You feel like a badass.
Yeah.
You know? But
I love it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And at the Florida Winter Tour, I think you guys are running like 175cc motors.
I don't even know.
I know here we run like 125s basically,
Okay.
but I think they're even bigger.
Yeah.
They're faster.
I know there's like rock shifter and then
Yeah.
KZ shifter are like two
I think it's
different.
KZs.
Yeah, we were running the rock engine,
Okay.
which is a little bit slower than the KZs. But
Okay. Do you know Garrett Potter?
No.
He's he's
General
track
manager?
director, GM here.
Okay.
But he ran the Rock Series when you were doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he did that. Like has a good relationship with Tony Kart. you
Okay,
know,
nice.
Like that was sort of
I was here for SCUSA in 2021.
I think that's
maybe.
actually how we like connected. Yeah.
Is that how you guys connected?
Yeah. He was, I think, filming, right?
Yeah.
For a team.
Yeah. Yep.
And then Austin came over and started talking to you. And then I don't know where, I mean, you can tell the story.
Yeah.
better than
I think I met Austin at a NASA event like in that, like the April of that year.
Okay.
And then you were at the track, and that was when we did the 6 hour. And so he was like, why don't, I'm here.
That's right, yeah.
Meet Michael,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So,
That's right. I met you at the SCUSA event.
yeah.
It was before that at NASA that you
Right.
met Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you guys raced together in the 6 hour race here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was doing a little bit of a deep dive on, I think, your Instagram about the 6 hour, and you referred to him as, I think, Racing Jesus.
Yeah. Jesus hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he the only one that calls you the Racing
I think
Jesus?
so. Yeah. Michael,
I like it.
yeah.
It's catchy.
Michael has given me some nicknames that no one else has.
We don't need to repeat, I'm sure, the others.
So, there was a time I had longer hair.
Was it
my
long-
hair was probably close down to my nipples, I would say.
Yeah.
So-
Okay.
And I felt like you were faster when you had
I
longer
think
hair.
so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm just. Yeah.
Do you have to tuck it into your suit? Does it go like in between your sock? like,
Yeah.
in the suit?
Yeah. I tuck it in. Yeah.
It's a bummer that in racing, I know why, but it's a bummer that you can't have like the hair flowing out.
Flowing
Like
out.
I was gonna say, especially in shifter cars,
like
like if you had
carts
just
were
hair,
brutal. Yeah. 'Cause
yeah,
they're like,
it'd
oh,
be
it's gonna get
billowing.
caught and like.
Oh man, yeah. And then Lucas was he was my coach at Laguna for nationals.
oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we went to
What year was this?
2022.
Is this when you crashed?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So when
Where
we
were you
went
on that
to-
one,
I know,
Lucas?
right?
Yeah, when we did the national championships at Laguna Seca, yeah, that would have been 22. And
Okay.
yeah, Lucas came out and coached. Alden came out and ran the car.
Yep.
And, yeah, it was awesome. I don't know if you knew this, but I did break my back and my neck.
Yeah. You told me.
Okay, good.
Yeah. That's insane.
I just like telling people because then I get
Yeah.
like sympathy points.
Your AG, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Your
AG, yeah,
shirt,
exactly.
What's AG? I don't get that.
That was his impact.
That was
Like
the
in Gs.
impact.
Yeah.
Oh, eight?
Eight Gs. Yeah.
Oh,
when you
eight.
hit
I
the
thought you were
wall.
saying AG.
Oh, no,
the
no,
letter
no,
A and the
eight,
letter
yeah.
G.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
8 Gs, which
Doesn't seem like a lot.
it doesn't seem like a lot.
Yeah.
It should be like 45
Yeah.
or like 53.
You hear Formula One drivers
Yeah.
sustain Guan Yu Zhou. I think it was 55 Gs or something crazy at Silverstone.
Yeah, I mean, something I learned in that accident was that all wrecks are different and the variables are all over the place, right? You see guys get messed up in like a small accident. You see guys get up and walk out of a
Right.
huge accident. And it's just,
Well, absolutely. The ones that look dramatic, all that energy is getting dissipated through all that shit that's flying everywhere.
Right.
Where a lot of times the ones that look simple, just the dunk,
Yep.
all that energy
yeah.
is getting transferred into the cockpit. So
Right.
100%, some of the scariest ones. I hate. I love watching NASCAR, and they wreck each other intentionally all the time. But it's still, man, it gives me it gets to me. It's a hair-raising moment every single time you see the car just go bonk into a wall hard. You're just I know they're safest. They are the safest they've ever been. Man, it's still a lot of energy getting transferred into a human.
Well, that car that we tubbed at Laguna, it's hanging in the store here. Yeah,
it's the chandelier in the store.
So I flip it off every time I come in. You know, it was cool though. I mean, just on that note, like we went back to Laguna the next year, and it took a good year for my back to feel like 90%-ish again. But then going back, like I thought I would have fear. Like I thought I'd be worried about, you know, another incident.
Was it turn 4?
Exit of 3.
Exit of 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was like zero fear at all.
Yeah.
Which I expected to be like tentative and like worried about whatever. And I just didn't feel that. Like it was like as soon as I was driving again, it was just like, we're driving again.
Yeah.
Thankfully. And like, you know, the lap times were way quicker. And anyway, so yeah, it was cool. I know you've had a couple like bad incidents, and I don't know if you had like any, you know, boogeyman after that, but
yeah. I don't really know. I feel like I haven't, like where you get back in the car and you're like, well, what if I crash again? I just think it's part of being a driver, you know, it's just kind of part, as soon as you get on the track, that's what you accept. That could happen at any moment. Right. And so I think it's important that you got back out there, right? Some people would just say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm never doing it again. But I think it's just, I don't know whether it's just in our blood or something, or it's just because we like what we do. But yeah.
Well, maybe if you feel that way, you probably maybe shouldn't be back on track.
Yeah.
You're going to be hesitant. You're going to make a mistake.
Like, I think most people would say, like, if you're actually out there racing, like, you're never like, oh my God, I might crash and hit the wall. Like, that just never really goes through your head, at least with me, you know, it's like, and you're at the edge of adhesion most of the time, but I'm never like, what if I spin and hit the wall? It's like, you can't think about that, you know. It's just like
we had Cole Powelson in here, and like he owns Sierra Cars and owns a bunch of records at hill climbs.
Okay.
And I asked him, you know, do you see on the hill climbs like Pikes Peak? There's just cliffs.
It's insane.
And I asked if he saw it, and he's like, no, the day that I see it, I won't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you're basically mirroring that. It seems consistent, right? Like you just go out and do it, and if you're worried about the other things, then don't do it.
You just can't, you know, you have to be 100% in that exact turn, that apex, whatever you're in, right? You can't have 1% like
we're in that moment.
Exactly. You know, and thankfully the cars are, you know, they are extremely safe, right? But that's why like I don't ever drive fast on the road or nothing like that. Like that's where it's just stupid. But
would you be a racing driver if it was like the 60s, 70s? Would you make different life choices?
Cigarettes and getting in the car. I don't know. But
that was a different time.
Yeah.
It's good that you got back in it and just kind of business as usual almost.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's hard to speed on the road for you because you're in that Sprinter van too.
Right. You can only go so fast. But they say there's only racing drivers they've either hit the wall or ones who haven't hit it yet. You know, I mean, it's like if you are a driver, you're going to hit the wall, you know, and if you haven't, it's just a matter of time. So
you're not going fast enough if you never have a moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is scary to think about because moments, they come with consequences.
Yeah. Right? I mean, no one wants to hit the wall, but you learn from it. And
well, it's the same thing if you're in race group. It's a little different in time trial. Like I get that, but definitely in race group, if you're not willing to tub the car, then you shouldn't be in race group.
Exactly.
Right? Like it's such a gnarly mentality. But you're right. I get it.
Yeah.
You know? Jeez.
I'm not talking about like MX-5 racing. I'm not saying that you have to bang into each other constantly, but you know
that it's an option and accept it.
There can
exactly.
Yeah. So what do you do? And what I mean by that is you're a videographer. You have the YouTube channel, paintball, bike reviews. When people ask, what do you do?
Yeah.
Are you a videographer?
I would say now what I say is I'm a YouTuber. To be honest. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. I did a lot of video. I used to work in real estate.
Yeah.
And I used to work at a TV station before that. But about like 2 years ago, I went full time on YouTube. A lot of it's skiing. Most of it I would say is skiing. I feel like I figured out a way to capture skiing and make it in a relatable format for 90% of people.
Yeah. It's great stuff that you do for sure.
And so that's kind of it. It just has grown from there.
How do you do? I don't understand the volume of content that you put out and the quality of content that you put out. I don't know how you manage to do the stuff and then film the stuff and then edit the stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've just got a system down. I mean, I like that sort of, the churn of it. I was obviously inspired by someone like Casey Neistat and those people who are daily vlogging. And so I kind of adapted that of like, can I do that in skiing and make it so like, I'll go to an opening day and then the next day you can watch it online of like what the conditions are like right then and there. And that format I feel like just kind of stuck, but it's got, it's a double-edged sword of burnout. And it's like, you can only ski all day, edit all night, post it, and then do it again the next day. So many times. So I just, I spent a lot of my time when I was in grad school, actually like learning about cinematography and practicing editing and stuff. So it's just something I spent a lot of time doing.
Is that when it started in Colorado?
Really,
you went to CU Boulder, right?
Yeah, for grad school.
Yeah.
I went to college in upstate New York, but that was when I really started to explore. And I had always kind of been passionate about using GoPros and stuff, but it wasn't until I kind of went out and was in the nature and stuff like that I really explored it more. But there's no like secret to it. I just really put a lot of time and effort into it. And it's something I always kind of wanted to do. And so I just do it.
Do you just kind of go out, shoot everything and figure it out? Or are you pretty careful with when you turn the camera on?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of depends. Like honestly, on a day like this, I'm kind of just rolling and I'll figure it out later. But there's some days where it's more, there's something happening that I'm trying to ski this certain zone or whatever. So it can be a little bit more structured of like what this actual story is with it. But I also hate coming back and like not having enough stuff either. So yeah, it's super run and gun, very guerrilla. Just like a lot of times I have the little Joby tripod, the flexible one. I'm just like setting it up next to a bush, driving past it, picking it up, and so it's it's a lot less sort of polished and produced than like actual cinematography and filmmaking. But I think there's an element to that some people
I think the production's great.
So
yeah.
yeah.
I think you do an awesome
job.
Does
Papa Joe understand what you do?
He does now.
Does he?
He does, yeah. And he's always been a big supporter of it, but he gets it because we ski together and he'll see that I'm, skiing with that camera on my back and the 24-70, let's say. And then I put a GoPro on my ski pole or, and I'm skiing around like this, and so he sees the work that I guess I put into it in like the raw sense. And then he'll watch like the edited video and he's like, oh, I see why you were doing this and how it came into this, right?
So he's trying to spend quality time with you. Yeah. And you've got like 6 cameras set up.
Exactly.
Like,
oh yeah, now I started putting camera on his head and stuff too. So,
put him to work.
Yeah, stay behind me, Dad, so I can get the footage. Yeah.
But he's become a character in this channel. He's really become a person that the channel looks up to and like he's a part of it. And so I think that's another element I've like personified my van as Luna. And so it's like I've really created this just all-encompassing narrative almost. And I don't know what the long term is of it. I don't know like the sustainability of it, but that's what I would say I do now. And so
do you treat it like more like a business or more like a creative project?
Now I treat it much more like a business.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like I kind of had to do that when I went full time with it.
Yeah, of course.
Because I found it's just something like YouTube, you just never shuts off, right? You're always thinking about the next video idea, the next thing, a brand deal that comes in. And so I'm like, okay, I need to somehow compartmentalize this because I just feel like I'm always like working and I'm never like, with a job, you go 9 to 5 or whatever, and then you can come back. Okay, now you have your personal time. So I had to, and I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm just trying to, I have to have some sort of system to it.
Yeah. How'd you start doing the e-bike reviews?
Companies just said, hey, we have an e-bike. We want to send it to you. And I was
so they reached out to you first. It wasn't.
Yeah, they'll just reach out to me. I mean,
okay.
It's cool, but the summers are always a very tough. Like the problem with what I do is it's extremely seasonal.
Right.
Extremely seasonal. So like right now, I mean, I don't even really have to post videos because they don't get views. None of that stuff really matters, but I like to do it and I don't want to just fall off.
Couldn't you do like downhill cycling in the off season or something?
I do. And that's what I do now, but it's still just, there's not even close to the volume. Engagement. Yeah. That's so skiing gets.
Your audience is skiing.
Skiing. It's
Where'd you ski growing up? Near Syracuse?
I honestly skied here, Park City.
Okay.
Yeah, I almost never skied back east, but it's like owning like a campground business or a marina business where it's like you make all your revenue from like
in that season.
And so, it gets better every year that I grow more, but it's still,
Do you anticipate racing being a bigger part of the channel at any point? Or
I've tried racing videos.
Yeah.
And they
I was gonna say, it feels like you've gone the other direction, right?
Yeah.
Where like the engagement's not there or something.
Yeah.
I honestly don't really share much of my racing much at all, like on my Instagram, or I used to a little bit more, but I just feel like unless you know racing, it's hard to kind of show. And it's like, I am the videographer. I think if I had someone there to like video the moments of getting in the car and talking to the crew, it's a different thing, but it's like,
you do everything on your own.
Yeah. I'm like trying to get in the car and I'll like set up a camera, get in the car, like my race suit on, and be like, wait, hold on, Alden, then get back out and turn the camera off. I found it's just really difficult to do.
Well, dude, put Alden to work, man. I don't know what the hell he's doing. I know, right?
He can turn on a camera. Yeah. And for me, it's like, I love watching in-car footage because you can sit there and you know it. But for a lot of people, you're like, what do you
feel like it's hard to relate to the public?
Definitely.
Like,
because
it feels like there's a disconnect there between motorsport and
totally.
Yeah. If you're not a fan, there's a bigger hurdle in motorsport than so many other sports because we've talked about it. The rules of baseball are the same in every league.
Exactly.
The rules in racing are different all over the place. So you need to almost have a course.
But there's also a disconnect between the athlete and the viewer.
Right. Yeah.
You're wearing a suit, a helmet. They can't see who you are.
That's
you're
a good
in
point.
the car. They have no idea who's in the car, and it's hard to like relate the two.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just, think of how many people have driven a race car in their life. I mean, you're at the top 1% of people who do it so.
But if you ask like 10 people, at least 3 or 4 will definitely
say that they're race car driver or something.
They'll think they can drive as fast as you.
So I've dabbled in it, and like my bigger thing is I'll bring all my gear. I'm like, I'm making a vlog from Coda this time. And then I just get, something happens, right? Like Joe's car is broken, and I'm just get like pissed off. And I'm like, the last thing I want to do is like sit here and talk to a camera. I feel like if I had someone there more to like produce it and be like, okay, sit down, the camera's ready. I'm going to ask you what's going on.
Right.
It's like, but I just feel like now I'm like scrubbing tires. I'm like running down to the Pirelli guy to drop, 8 tires off. I'm like, it's just been getting harder and harder to like want to be like creative and make like a vlog out of it. I'm like,
it's all right to have stuff that's just for you though, right?
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
for sure.
So
and I
get that.
Paintball.
Yeah.
Are you still active in paintball?
I am. The problem with paintball in Utah is it's just not very big, but it's something I grew up doing a lot. And so I stopped doing it for a while. And then when I got back here, I found that there was a scene for it, but it's just very inconsistent and stuff like that.
And what is Stoke Squad? Give us the rundown on Stoke Squad.
So Stoke Squad is basically the community that I created on my YouTube channel. I don't really even remember how like that name came about, but just from me sharing my adventures and stuff like that, I kind of created this, I don't know, just this community for the people who are in it. And it just kind of represents people who are just passionate about life or an activity, really. And a lot of that is skiing in the mountains, but it's kind of like the brand that I've been trying to create that's bigger than just my name, Lucas Catania. So creating stuff like hats and stickers and stuff, was a new thing for me this year, but it's been a way that people have been able to kind of show their support for the channel. And I just never really felt right with like my name as like, buy a Lucas Catania sticker, and I want to somehow be able
I would
to
buy the
scale
hell
this.
out of a Jesus hair sticker.
Racing Jesus there?
It's just a helmet with
Do you see Stoke Squad stickers? Have you seen them out in the wild?
Yeah.
That's gotta be cool.
It's cool.
Like, that's my thing.
Yeah, especially this year. The whole skiing stuff is kind of, just a different level. Like it's a lot. It's very popular when I go to places. There's people who will notice me and want to ski. And so it's cool to create kind of what I've been doing. And we've had 3 meetups so far each year where people come out here and they travel from all over the country to ski together and stuff. So it's been kind of wild because it's just something I never really it's something like you think's going to happen, but I never truly thought it would. And now it's like, just kind of feel like I did something that other people weren't really doing at the time, kind of create this high quality cinematic type of ski video.
When did it become a goal of yours to get to this point?
I remember like 2020 when New Year's hit, I was like, that was when I made a resolution. And that was when I kind of just was like, I don't care what happens. I'm posting 2 YouTube videos a week and this is just what I'm doing. And then 2020, 2021, and then I think 2022 was where I was able to kind of take the jump with it. But
what's next in racing for you?
Yeah. I think GT4 is next for us. Yeah.
SRO, IMSA?
SRO probably. Yeah. I think we're actively selling the M2s. So if anyone wants to buy them. But I think next is GT4.
When you buy the M2s, you tell them which one's yours and Joe's.
So the slow one, you want the slow one or the fast one? I think that's a logical next thing for us. I mean, I don't see anything crazy in my racing career, just because it's obviously so limited with money, right? That you need the funding for it. But I do think doing GT4 with my dad would be a cool sort of memory thing with him. And hopefully we'll be in, like the plan is to be in for Virginia in a GT4 car if we can get these at least one M2 sold. So we might try to we probably won't finish the year in the M2s, and we'll start to get some experience in the GT4 for the rest of the year. And then
you're talking about doing a driver change with your dad.
Yeah,
that'd be badass.
Yeah. So obviously a big learning curve, but we think in a way having one car rather than two cars could be a little bit easier for like the team as a whole. I'm not saying it's going to be cheaper, but it would just be, you just
less cars to run.
You have one setup you're doing, and so that's the next step I think for us in racing. What I would love to get back in like a Carrera Cup. I mean, that field now looks incredible, but it's just the money. So
do you and your dad have a similar driving style?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I'm always doing data with them, so it's kind of hard not to, whatever I'm doing, I'm telling him to do, I guess.
Car setup, you've done endurance races together. Does the car setup, is that part of what a race engineer does? This is like, well, Michael's quick with...
Well, typically you want to set the car for the gentleman, right? Like the slower guy, that make it safer for them and let the pro drive around the problems.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
100%.
So in this case, they would set the car up for Lucas, and then Joe would have to drive around the problems. Your dad's gonna love me after this.
I know, right?
Do you have any superstitions with racing?
Yeah, like once I use like the same bathroom stall, I won't use the other one. Like I'm only using that bathroom stall.
He also hated all of my jokes constantly. Like,
what kind of jokes?
Well, just like
inappropriate jokes.
I bet I can beat my G record, in terms of hitting a wall.
Got it.
And he's like, you cannot say stuff like that.
Please don't. Are you a superstitious person? Does that make you nervous when he's like,
did I say that?
No, I said that. And then you were like, you can't make jokes like that. Yeah.
So bathroom stall.
Yeah.
That's a new one. I've never heard that one before.
Just like little things where it's like, once I do something to start the weekend, I try not to change it.
Okay. That makes sense though.
Like what? Like your underwear?
Yeah, basically. I don't shower all weekend.
Just keep things.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's how you get the locks looking so oily, right?
Exactly.
Oh man.
Do you watch racing? Are you a fan?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I
would say I'm a pretty diehard F1 fan for sure. I'm always love watching the race. I have the app, so I watch all the practices and stuff. I probably spend too much time watching it, but yeah. And then I love watching like IMSA highlights. I mean, I won't like sit down and watch like a full 24-hour race, but I'm in tune with it for sure. Like Mid-Ohio this weekend, the 4-hour and stuff. I mean, I'm always tuning in. I haven't really been able to get too much into IndyCar, but I will watch the highlights and stuff when it's at like Road America, like they just were. But
dude, it's so fascinating. IndyCar, I think, has the highest potential.
Yeah.
To have a huge amount of growth because the on-track racing, for an open wheel series, like them being a spec series, makes it so exciting. And they're getting bigger names, like you're getting.
Plus, I think adding more like street circuits, more like circuit racing instead of ovals has helped them a ton. And
absolutely. But the ovals make it, I think, really fascinating. You don't want too many, but you watch Milwaukee or, obviously the Indy 500, and you get that perspective of speed. Like, the Indy 500, particularly if you're a fan of NASCAR as well, it's profoundly different how quickly they go. And that sense of danger is very easy to see. When you see them hit a wall and the crash just keeps going. You're like, oh my God. But IndyCar is fascinating. Yeah. There's just too much racing going on in the middle of the summer though, right? Like
I know,
on any weekend, you're like, I look at my calendar, I'm like, there are 7 races that I want to watch.
I will say that I always make a point to watch MX5 Cup races because you just know they're going to be awesome.
They're going to be good.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yep.
It is the best.
Do you watch your own broadcast or just in-car data review kind of stuff?
I don't know. I mean, I'll check it out. I'll check it out sometimes, but I don't know. I don't like the announcers. I feel like they always make me out to be a bad guy or something, and I'm just
Ooh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know. Sometimes I will. I watch like when I won. I'll watch that one. But
yeah, because it makes you feel good.
but sometimes it's cool to see.
Do you think the announcers are overly critical of your driving?
I just think they don't really know what's going on, and so they'll say shit, and it's just not true of what's actually going on in the car.
Right.
Yeah, I can relate.
It's like,
I broadcast our sim racing league.
Yeah,
I just go like that for
exactly.
an hour.
So no, nothing against that, but sometimes they're saying stuff, and I'm just like, that's not what's That's not what's actually happening.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
they'll say that you overcooked your tires, and and it was like, no, I'm just down on power.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know, because then you'll see them walking around the paddock, and you talk to them and stuff, and you can always tell they're like trying to fish out some information. And then you watch the broadcast, and they use that, and so it's like sometimes you gotta be a little bit careful. Sometimes what you tell them, like stuff, okay, and especially like the pit lane reporters, like they'll come up before the race when you're sitting on the grid, and I told her name's Amanda Busick, and I was like, look, Amanda, you're not talking to me anymore because every time I talk to you, I get second place. And so she doesn't talk to me anymore.
They did mention that on the broadcast, though.
Yeah, right.
They said like the broadcaster curse or whatever.
Exactly.
We can't talk to Lucas anymore because he keeps getting second.
So they really do use everything, even that.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
Well, you almost didn't get second in that. What, the second race? First race of Kodo?
Is that where you?
First race.
You were in third for a while and then got around the Acura.
Oh, that was the second race. Yeah. The first race, I thought we had better potential, but we hit some sort of oil or something and spun. But
is that what it was? I was going to ask you about that.
Yep. If you look, the Acura was smoking on that first outlet.
And they were to that point. The broadcasters were saying it's brakes.
Yeah, no,
like
and that's what I'm saying. It wasn't brakes.
Yeah.
You don't bed pads in, and they don't just smoke like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, not unless
like
it's a
out
Formula
the
One.
rear of the car, right? It just doesn't work that way. So,
and it was on the formation that they were smoking
on the formation. And so I was calling in. I'm like, Neto, something's happening. And then we basically came around to 19. One time, Walsh was sideways, I was sideways, and I was like, okay, something's on the track. But yeah, they never, I don't know. I mean, they should at least put a debris flag down or something. And then Neto had a DNF because his gearbox failed. And so
do they use flags or do they have the
we don't have
light
lights.
system?
Yeah, we don't have lights. We have flags. So yeah, that's what happened. I came into 19 and just spun right away. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of unfortunate, but.
What's your helmet look like? Was that an intelligent? Do you have designs on your helmet?
I do. Yeah, it's like green and white and black or something.
A reason? Was there thoughtfulness behind it?
Not really.
Okay, cool. Just stripes make you go faster.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Does Joe want to do Carrera Cup?
Oh, he would love to.
It's just budget, right? It's
just budget.
Crazy money.
Yeah,
especially to run 2 cars or whatever.
And especially those 992s are just their next level money. At least the 991 at the time, I think we got them for like 130 or 140, and now it's like
300.
Yeah, now exactly, just for like the car. And then think about going to Miami and running with Formula One. You're like, how much do you think that is and stuff. So we would love to do Carrera Cup. It's just the money.
Mm-hmm.
Who are your Formula One drivers?
I honestly love Verstappen.
Yeah, it's hard.
I wish he would just beat everyone every single weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
So Red Bull fan or Verstappen fan? Mm-hmm. If he changed teams?
I'd still be into Verstappen. Ever since he came into Formula One, I just thought his attitude and his aggression and just like, I don't care what happens, I want to win the race. I just really, I like that. He doesn't like foo-foo stuff. He's not like there for this sort of lifestyle of it. He doesn't care if he pisses you off. He wants to win. And
I love
like
that.
So
at any point, I feel like he'd walk away too.
Oh yeah,
he
totally.
Doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, at this point for sure.
Yeah.
I also like Lando. I like George Russell, but
who do you not like?
I don't like Charles Leclerc.
Really?
Yeah.
Surprised by that.
Yeah, I'm not a Leclerc fan.
He's like a pretty likable guy.
He is. I have nothing against the guy. I just like when he won Monaco, I was like, damn it, like I would rather have anyone else win. But I'm happy for him. But
what do you not like about him?
I just feel like in a way he was like Max's rival for a little while, and
okay, so anyone against Max?
Yeah,
got it.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't have a reason not to like him.
What's your opinion of the second seat in Red Bull. I think that's the hardest seat in all of Formula One to be in.
I think the reality of Formula One is there's a number 1 and a number 2 driver.
It's the only way to win a championship, I think.
And so, that seat might be up for grabs in the beginning when everyone's kind of on the same playing field. But at some point, you're going to have a driver emerge with more points than the other driver. And
think about that with kind of Piastri and Lando.
The 2 seat with Mercedes and Hamilton.
Well, Piastri and Lando, I think, I used to say Sainz and Leclerc were the most evenly matched teammates. It might be Lando and Piastri. And if you're trying to win a driver's championship, are they going to steal points away from each other if they're in that situation? And when you have that clear number 1 and number 2, like you have at Red Bull, I think you're right. It gives the number 1 driver an advantage.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad, but it's also, you're getting paid tons of money, and it's like you got to be a team player, I feel like. And so
I think people also kind of know their role too. Like Bottas, he was a great teammate to Lewis Hamilton and knew that he technically had an opportunity to win any race.
Right.
But you also know, I think these guys must be aware of knowing what they're up against.
Well, that always amazes me that like Bottas was always like second fiddle, right? But I mean, he was still podium all the time. All the time, right? So it was like he was obviously one of the better drivers in the field, or had the best car, or whatever,
or both.
Yeah. But when you're the number 2 driver on the team, it makes you feel like you're probably the number 9 driver in the field.
Yeah, and it's like we were talking about with BOP, right? Like one of the things that I love about motorsports, as much as I love on-track racing with the spec series, there's infinite dialogue of is the person outperforming their equipment, or is their equipment making them look good?
Right,
like would Lando perform differently in a Red Bull or in a Williams? How would Lando do against Alexander Albon? Like there's no like for like comparison other than your teammate.
Right.
I love that. I love having those conversations.
Yeah. So I think, but are you surprised that Perez signs again for 2 more years? I feel like you kind of can't be, because he's done his job, right? I mean, he's been second in the Drivers' Championship. He's not as strong as Max is, but at the end of the day, I think he's doing what he's supposed to do. And
he's stable as well.
Yeah.
He shows up, he does his job. And right now in Red Bull, you want stability.
And that's, like you said, that's the hardest seat.
I think number 2 seat, I think it's harder to be Max's teammate than it is to be Max.
So, I mean, it's just part of the sport. But.
Do you feel like your dad's a teammate? Okay. So you guys function in that capacity as well.
My dad would never, he would never win. If he was in first and I was in second and the championship was like that, I mean, he would pull over right away.
Oh, you have team orders.
He never, he's very much a teammate. So, I mean, my dad's he's just, you gotta think he's 62, 63 years old. He's ecstatic he can even still be out there, and even recently, the last year or so, he's on pace. I mean, he's gotten a lot better. He just understands, for someone like me, it's like, hey, I'm not paying for it and I want to win the 50-cent trophy. But my dad, Joe, he's like, he understands is it worth writing off a car for like a little podium trophy, right? So he has a different mindset with it a little bit from a team owner standpoint.
First of all, the trophies are like 13 or 14 bucks. Like don't sell yourself short.
It's a 4x4 piece of wood from Home Depot. They spray paint like before they get there.
Oh man.
But so anyways, my dad is very much a teammate. And
how cool that you guys get to race together.
Yeah, it's been sick.
So much of, I think, more grassroots, regional racing, whatever. It's all the way up to Formula One with the Strolls. Like it's such a family affair with so many teams and so many, I love that about motorsport.
So I think like the Airbnbs, the dinners, like to me, that's more memorable than, you don't remember what happens in practice too at, Sonoma, but it's just all the stuff that you go through to get there that
with your dad.
Yeah. And just the team in general.
Talk about quality time together. Yeah. And also going through adversity together and growing through that. And, do
you feel your dad better as a result of racing?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, my dad and I are just extremely close with everything. We'll ski together. We'll bike together. I mean, it's, he's much more of a friend than necessarily like a dad. That's why I call him Joe, because he really is. Yeah. He's so, I mean, it's sick. I mean, I don't I don't think I would, whenever I've raced a few times without Joe there and vice versa, it feels a lot different.
Has he been basically to every race or been a teammate?
But I've done like some shifter card stuff without him before. And I'm just like, this is just kind of weird. Like who do I talk to after I get out of the car? I just like sit here, you know? And so I had to talk to Michael when I was with Michael at one time.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Man, at least he had snacks. So sorry about
Joe
that.
doesn't have snacks, but Michael had snacks. And
you have good snacks?
Still to this day, we'll
snacks.
rag Joe and be like, well, Michael had like fruit snacks and stuff. And
do you have a sweet tooth?
I do, yeah. But Joe, Joe, like you eat like turkey and grapes like all weekend long.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, you don't eat like, we don't get snacks. Like Michael had snacks. And so Alden and I
probably had like Cheez-Its too. Or
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Cheez-Its. We had like everything.
Really?
Alden and I, we were loving it. But
let me guess, were you like the Cheerios and like the basic cereal kid growing up? Is that
I
what
love
was in your
Lucky
house?
Charms. I could just never have them.
You didn't have them in your house?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
We have snacks as well that we won't eat here because they're very messy.
Nice.
But I always bring the best like Oreo white fudge pops.
Nice.
So after
They are
the
delicious.
podcast, they're amazing. Yeah,
I didn't know you didn't have snacks though when you're racing, man. That's depressing.
We'll get some stuff, but it's like a protein bar,
Yeah.
you know, or like
That's
a
not a
Nutrigrain
snack.
bar.
That's
you know,
just
we
calories.
eat bananas.
Did they give you hospitality at all in terms of like the event?
No. They might give you like free energy drinks or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not a lot of hospitality. Not free, at least. I mean, you could pay for catering and whatnot, but so again, that's where the small team thing is different because a lot of teams will even have a cook who's just there, you know, making lunch and all that sort of stuff. It's like, so.
What kind of crossover is there from all the stuff you do to racing?
Yeah.
Whether it's organizationally or from an athletic standpoint?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest thing is the mental side of it. I mean, I would say with racing, the biggest thing is the mentality that you have to have. I mean, you're focused for 40 minutes or whatever it is. And it's like, there's not a single other thing that crosses your mind, you know? And so you have to be so in tune with what you're doing that whether I'm skiing and I'm going through a tree run or biking or something, like that same mentality, I feel like transfers over a lot of just like pure focus on exactly what you're doing in that moment.
Just being present.
So yeah, I think that sort of mentality in everything in life has been very important. And just having the discipline to like, you go to the 3 board and you hit the brake pedal, right? It's like, there's no question about a lot of things in racing. I think that's what I like about it. It's like, you know, if you go to whatever turn 1 here, you know exactly where your brake point is. And like, there's no gray zone about it. If on a dry track with sticker tires, you go here and you hit the damn brake pedal as hard as you can, right? And so having that discipline to do that for 40 minutes, whether you're behind someone or getting chased, I think translates to a lot of things in life. And that's something that I've liked about it. And yeah, I just think that's an element that not a lot of people really get is just the whole mindset it's just a whole sort of lifestyle with it, right? It's like, you don't just show up and now you're focused. It's the whole season. It's just something that I feel like I've adapted with a lot of stuff in life. So
how do you get ready for a race? What's your process? Like mentally?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like I don't do much mentally before the race. I'll do some sim stuff. I think it's just good as refreshers, but yeah, I think with these last 3 years have been different for me because I'm wearing so many more hats rather than just a driver.
So you're working.
I'm working, you know, I got to get there the day before, set everything up. You know, I mean, most drivers aren't really doing that. Most drivers, they get out and they leave and they go get a good night's sleep and a dinner. I'm there with the team till 10 o'clock at night. Like, damn, now we got to go to like an Olive Garden and then go to bed and wake up, be back at 7. Not a lot of drivers are doing that. And so it puts me, I think, in a little different position. Yeah. Because I'm so much more in tune with stuff. Like we had to change like a VVT motor. It changes the valve timing, right? Like little shit like that. Most drivers aren't really aware of. They're like, okay, my practice is in 30 minutes. Is the car ready or not? And
does that give you more confidence getting in the car?
I think it does. But I also think, you know, I'm just in tune to a little bit more stuff. I'm like, okay, this is smelling different. This has a smell. This has a sound here. And I'm like, you know, I'm right in there with the car setup. So like, I know shit, we put the, you know, camber at this much or the toe in at this, you know, so I feel like it's harder for me to be like purely focused sometimes, but
you talk to drivers about like, they'll visualize the lap beforehand and they're just like in the zone getting ready. Do you feel like in some ways that distraction of like you're doing all these other things besides driving just kind of, it keeps the nerves away. It keeps overthinking about the race, and then you just get in the car and go.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Yeah. I do think there's some element of like distraction to it. I will say that Saturday morning, whenever I wake up Saturday morning, I'm like, I don't say a word until like after the race. I'm like quiet. I get so, I don't know if it's nervousness, but like I just, between qualifying and race one, like as soon as that's like unofficial testing practice, and then like boom, Saturday hits, and I'm like, oh shit, like it's here, and I'm just like, I won't eat really until after the race. So I do think I can kind of distract myself to it, but then when that Saturday rolls around, I do get very nervous before the race. And sometimes I'll have people come out to the race, and I'm like, I got to like try to entertain them and act like I'm not like kind of freaking out a little bit. But
yeah,
as soon as that green flag goes, it's like, boom.
It goes away. It's all like everything before it.
It's
time to do the dance, right?
Like, I just want to go now. Like I don't.
Yeah.
It's like you get ice, especially with this stuff. It's like you got to get to the grid 30 minutes early. Then you get in the car, and then wait 10 minutes. And then you transition to pit lane. Then you sit in pit lane for 10 minutes. And it's like, man, just roll us out and let's go race.
So you're in the car for like an hour before you're.
It sucks. Yeah.
Actually,
and a lot of times you can't run the car because they want to do driver start your engine.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there with no AC, right? It's like 95 degrees in Texas, and you have to just sit there, like all buckled in. It's like.
And they're trying to film you, and you're
exactly right. Amanda's trying to come up and talk to you. So
yeah, I didn't think about that. Like just sitting on grid forever, and it's always, for me, and obviously I'm not at the same level, but like it's like as soon as you get into turn one, everything's different.
Yeah,
you're just driving at that point.
Yep.
In karting, for me, it's definitely I have to get through turn one. Like just because it's tight fields, people will crash into you on a regular basis. So like this past weekend, I ran with the seniors. So under 32, I'm definitely not, definitely over 32. Yeah. And there were like 25 in the field. So I was literally racing with like 15 and 16 year olds. Nice. And it's so rowdy in those first couple corners. And I don't really relax until I'm like, all right, I'm through.
Yeah.
All right. The wheels are still touching the ground. We're in good shape. Now let's go racing.
Yeah, that's true.
How rowdy are the starts in
thankfully the fields are small. We might get 10 cars, so they don't get that rowdy. But MX5 Cup, Carrera, Porsche Cup was a little bit Spec Miata. Like we would have 70 car fields.
70?
Yeah, I think we had like 79 at Coda. That was when Coda first came out. Coda was first built.
Yeah,
it was
2011.
Yeah, something around there. And I would run the Super Tour, which is like the national tour.
SCCA.
Yeah, okay. And so between Sebring and Coda, you'd have like 80 cars. And so that was like insane.
In
one field.
Yeah, they wouldn't split them up and then do a final. No. Holy cow.
So that's when they obviously got rowdy. I mean, this can get a little bit. I got hit from behind from Neto in the first race. I almost went right into the side of Walsh.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks they're a hero in turn one at Coda, right? Because
of course, you're breaking up hills.
I'm going to the inside and then you realize the corner,
V's.
V's. So I'm like full brake over the bumps. I'm like, I'm sorry, Chris. I won't ever do this again if you just stop for me this time. And then cars stop. But
so you're nervous all the way up to the race.
Yeah.
Because for me, I feel like I'm nervous up until I'm in the car, even in practice or qualifying. I mean, obviously qualifying, there's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, I have to remember that I can do it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, can I do this? You get in the car, you're like, oh yeah, we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And then the nerves kind of calm down. But for you, it's like all the way up to green flag.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, yeah. I think pace lap, I at least start to get a little bit more calm. They at least are rolling and like, hey, now we're going. But yeah, up until then, I mean, I just don't really ever qualify that well for whatever reason. And so it's like, I have a bad qualifying, and then now I know I need to fight my way up to the front again, and it's like, I don't know. That whole Saturday morning for me is always kind of tough.
Are you relaxed in quali, or do you feel like you're overdriving?
I feel like I overdrive a lot. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, because if you notice, like I'm very quick in practices. I'm almost always winning the practices. I'm like P1 in practice, but then I get to qualifying and I'll be like P3, and so it's like, what changes between practice and qualifying that does that? And
right.
And so I think I overdrive and
well,
stuff.
some guys are great, like racecraft racers.
Yeah.
And then other guys are time trial guys. Like they
Yeah.
can put in a flyer and then they get sweaty after
Right.
2 laps and have to come off.
Right. And that's where I need to remind myself. I do think I race better than I qualify. So I'm like, always when I qualify Portland, I'm like, okay, like you generally always race yourself back up to where you to the front. So
Yeah.
I tend to trust my racing and my sort of perseverance and stuff in the car. But yeah, I don't know. I just get a little bit, that Saturday is just tough for me. And then as soon as the race is over, I'm like, phew, it's like done.
I mean, the quality time is important, of course, like where you are in grid. But at the same time, when you take the green flag and you're, bumper to bumper with another car, if you were in that position on any other lap, it would be like, we're about to overtake or I'm about to be overtaken, right? So in a weird way, it's not that important.
Exactly.
The quality time, right?
Yeah.
Like as long as you're in a decent spot, like you said, the pace will kind of work itself out over the
Yeah.
race. As long as you don't let the lead pack get away.
Right.
That's kind of the risk, I guess.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's a little bit, some tracks are easier to pass than others, but yeah, I think
Well, Sonoma, that's a tough one.
it's a tough one to pass on. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, qualifying is important. But if anything, it's kind of like a confidence thing, like whenever you get pole, you're on the front row, you're like, hey, like this is good.
Yeah.
I feel good. I know I have the pace.
When it's obviously easier to defend than it is to overtake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Although I would rather chase, I feel like, but
Yeah.
Is P3 your favorite not pole position?
it just depends.
On the
It
track.
depends really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Sonoma P2 or outside pole sucks because it's like they technically put you pole at Sonoma sucks
Because you're inside, but then you're outside.
then you have this
for the-
outs. Yeah, so it just kind of depends.
Mm.
I would always rather be on the front row than not because I like being able to see the green, and stuff. So,
track the pack.
but outside pole's hard because you can't in this series you can't go until the pole sitter goes. So like you're just
And you can't break formation until after the start stop
yeah,
line.
exactly. Yeah. But it's just like you're not even waiting for the green. You're just looking at the guy next to you. And so without kind of front running it and just getting lucky, you're like, you can't go until the pole sitter goes.
Right.
So if you're P3, you just kind of just almost push him, right? You just like stay on his bumper.
Yeah.
So
So if you're on pole in a SRO race, would you typically wait for the green, like pack everyone up real slow and then go? Or would you like get on it as soon as possible?
So
I know it's always different.
Yeah,
but
there's a zone where you have to go. It's called the start zone. So there's
Okay.
cones. And so once you get in that zone, the leader can go whenever they want. You can't go before it. And if you wait till the end of the zone, the green flag's going to come out automatically. So
Right.
it kind of depends on the track. Like Coda, you might want to wait a little bit because you have such a long run into turn one. Sebring, could be a little different because it's such a fast turn one, let's say. So it just kind of depends. But a lot of people will kind of, especially in the M2, you're full gas and then you're just on the brake, just building the boost. And then when you want to go, you just let the brake go and then the car will go. So just kind of depends on
it's a
people's-
turboed car.
Yeah.
Is it
twin
laggy or is it?
Not really. There's not much lag to it. So just kind of depends on people's style and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're going to be racing at Sonoma in 2 weeks.
are you really?
Yeah.
Sick.
With PCA.
Okay.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's a fun track. In a cup car, I think that'd be pretty sick.
Yeah.
They just repaved it, so it'd be nice and smooth.
Yeah. I've put a lot of sim time in, but
Yeah.
never in real life. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see the sheep and whatever else lives there.
A
I
lot of
don't know.
sheep. Yeah. It's a cool track.
What
but-
tracks do you like? I mean, you've driven a lot of tracks at this point.
Yeah. I love Watkins Glen.
Mhm.
I like Road
Oh,
Atlanta.
yeah.
Road Atlanta's fun. I like Mossport up in Canada. That track is like
CTMP.
yeah, that track is nutty.
Yeah?
Yeah. Road
High
America,
consequence again. Yeah.
High consequence. Yeah, it's a little different now because they repaved it, or like they put like asphalt, but before it was just grass. That's where I had one of my biggest wrecks actually ever was Mossport.
Was
at
it?
Turn one, yeah, in the box there. But
Oh, turn one. So the downhill,
right,
left or no? Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a fun track. I love Sebring. I mean, Sebring's hard not to like. There's really not a lot of tracks that I just like don't like.
Are there any?
Well,
Daytona.
I've never been to Daytona.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
NOLA.
Apparently, Michael doesn't like Daytona.
I think NOLA's kind of like blah. I don't
Yeah.
know, like NOLA's kind of whatever, but
well, we need to replace NOLA with UMC on the SRO
I know.
calendar.
Every time they ask us, we do like the survey of like what tracks you want to see. I always put UMC, but
Yeah.
I doubt it. So
What tracks are not on the SRO calendar?
we don't do like Road Atlanta, Daytona, Laguna Seca is not on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You guys don't run at Laguna?
They do Sonoma instead.
Do you
Oh, got it.
Barber?
We're doing Barber this year.
You are? Okay.
Yeah, Sonoma should be sweet. That'll be fun.
I'm excited.
There's a lot of elevation.
Yeah.
So
That was paved just the beginning of this season,
This year,
right?
yeah.
yeah, it completely fell apart on us. We had 2 days canceled when we were there.
Yeah, because of the tarmac.
Yep. Tarmac just ripped
Just
up.
pulling up.
Pulling up, and then it was like 40 degrees and rainy, so then the sealers couldn't even really, they didn't have like the right conditions to even reseal it.
Did they have to cancel sessions?
Yeah, we lost there's actually 2 test days that event, but we lost all Thursday, we lost all Friday, so no one had any practice really. And then Saturday morning they had 1 practice, and that acted as qualifying, and so we had 1 practice.
Okay.
And then you were able to race.
And then we raced.
How'd the race go? Were you off the racing line in certain corners?
No, we just went out and just
Dealt with it.
just ripped it right back up. So we're like,
Yeah.
you
Well, that
know.
was paved right before you guys got there. Yeah. Like,
Yeah. They had like small like club stuff on it, but they never had like big GT3 cars on it with like tons of aero and like, you know, it was ripping up in like a lot of the hard brake zones. And so
like into the hairpin, like turn 10.
That was the biggest spot, turn 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They just moved the asphalt just like right off the, but I think I don't know this, but I think the company who did it, they just weren't like a race paving company. And so they just put whatever they put, like a little strip, you know, but they weren't expecting massive race cars to just like, anyways,
I think the weather plays a big key in how well
it cures.
paving
It does
sets.
for sure. Yeah.
Like if you get unlucky with either, I don't know what the conditions are, but if it rains or if it's too hot, then that can affect the life. Was Garrett talking about that? I feel yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Garrett was talking about it.
Totally.
Yeah, how the track out here has lasted significantly longer than they expected because they hired good
they did it
pavers
right.
and-
Yeah.
But I heard it's good now. They had NASCAR out there. So
Yeah, it was just last weekend.
yeah.
Do you watch the race?
Not really.
A lot more respectful than
Yeah.
I expected.
Okay.
Which is nice. Like, again, I love NASCAR, but I feel like pole is the last place you ever want to, you never want to be leading with 3 to go because someone's going to use you as brakes 100% of the time.
Yeah. Sports car.
What's your relationship with your competitors, like the other competitors, like Chris Walsh, Garrett last year? Like, are you guys like buddies? Are you guys not? I don't know, like it probably depends on the guy, but just like, do you guys kind of stay in your lane and it's like you do your own thing, or is there a lot of banter back and forth?
I mean, I would say I'm personally just a little bit more do my own thing, but it doesn't mean, I think Garrett and I are now, I would say we're a lot closer friends now, but during the season, I mean, it's not like we're like hanging out and stuff. Chris Walsh and I were formal. We have no reason not to be like rude to each other, but a lot of us comes down to like kind of just like Garrett was 22 at the time or 23. You know, he's trying to make a career out of racing. Right. Someone like Chris Walsh is a little older guy. I'm older. You know, it's like a little bit's like, hey, what are we doing this for? And so. I don't know. I think I've always been second, so I'm bitter. So it's like, so that's why if you look at any podium photo, it's like I'm just never smiling. And they tell me to look happy when I go up there, and I always hold the trophy down here. So yeah, I mean, there's no like animosity necessarily between people, but I don't hang out with people too much, I guess. But yeah. For
a race weekend, when do you actually arrive? Like the Wednesday before?
I arrived the
Friday?
Wednesday.
You do? Okay.
Wait.
Then you're on track Thursday as the first practice?
Yeah, Wednesday is the setup day. So I usually get there like Wednesday morning and then have to set everything up and then and then fly out Sunday evening.
And VIR's next?
VIR.
How do you usually run around VIR?
We're usually pretty quick at Virginia.
A good track for you.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we were on pole there last year, and Garrett and I, we had some great battles. That was when I wrecked Garrett and I got and won the race, but then I got a penalty. And so they bumped me back to like 5th. And then,
What happened?
I just ran into him, I guess. I mean, it was last lap, turn, was like 1, 2, it's like that 4, 5, 6 complex. Like,
so like the S's?
The S's?
Just before the S's.
Okay.
That little,
like the left and on the right.
The left,
and the right.
Oh, yeah. Like it goes, what is it? Left hook, NASCAR, that double right-hander, and then that complex there. Okay.
With that complex, the left hook NASCAR thing.
Oh, that's where you got him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, but it was 40 minutes of like just nose to tail racing last lap.
Yeah.
And so we went side by side through 3, through 4, and then like that double right, I was just was on the inside. and he kind of came down and I hit him and they gave me a penalty.
So it was door to door.
Yeah. But he spun, I didn't.
Did they say that you just weren't in position or didn't have the corner?
But they didn't even, what pissed me off is I didn't even look at in-car video or anything. Like they already had the penalty made by the time I came around and took the checkered flag. Mm-hmm. I'm like, how do you guys make a call? At the time, the championship was still very close. Yeah. And I'm just like, how do you guys make a call that alters the championship this much without even looking at my video or Garrett's video? You're doing it based off the broadcast cameras.
Mm. Yeah. Did you have a dialogue with them?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Oh, yeah. This stuff goes like, yeah. But at the end of the day, they always have this force majeure rule where it's like they just do what they want. You know, it's like, or you can file a protest for $1,000.
Is that what it costs?
Yeah. And it's just like, man, you're a small team. Like we're not just going to throw $1,000 and hope.
Do you get it back if you're right?
I think if you're right, you get it back.
Yeah.
But.
And are you happy with the way the series is ran compared to, I mean, obviously you've ran with IMSA with Carrera Cup and.
To be honest, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I just,
What do they need to do to make it better?
It just seems like they have like, high school interns that run like the tech scales, for instance. It's just like there's no consistency to it. And it just doesn't feel like true like pro racing as they try to announce it as. And I just the whole BOP thing, like it's just kind of BS, I feel like. So just like hodgepodge stuff.
How many races are in a season?
There's 7 events, 2 races, so
7
14.
events.
Yeah,
it's not a lot of time to get it dialed if you're trying to come up with new BOP regulations every year.
Yeah, the problem we found is like we don't really want to go club racing because we've done that and we just think we're But we don't really have the funds to go like IMSA racing and do a whole season of that. So it's like, where do you go?
Wayland Mazda MX-5 Cup.
So that's been something Joe and I have struggled with. Is just like we feel like unless we do PCA club racing or BMW club racing,
or like WRL or something, that's longer.
Yeah, that's longer
endurance racing.
So that's where we found SRL was kind of just like it feels like this. Lower tier, quote unquote, pro racing stuff. So overall, it's been good, but we get frustrated with it. And
did you get your racing license at Skip Barber? Like, did you do their racing school or did you do it through SCCA?
I don't even know how I got a racing license.
Do you have a racing license? Does anyone check?
I don't know. Maybe that was through the club. I don't think it was a racing school though. I think it was a high performance or defensive driving school or something.
Yeah. So
it was more like, hey, you're driving. If a refrigerator falls off a truck, you got to swerve lanes and then brake really hard. That was like the school I did.
Okay, that's the driving school. So that's where I worked. Like technically I was a mechanic.
Okay.
But like I am still not a good mechanic. Yeah. Like I just don't have the attention span for it. I just torque specs are like a suggestion.
Yeah.
But as a job, everyone was a mechanic. So there were the racing school mechanics that had the school cars that were the RT2000s.
Okay.
And they had, I think, a 1, 2, or 3 day racing school. And then they had the driving school, which was what you did. So the lane change,
we did
threshold braking, skid pad, brake turn, like all that kind of stuff. So like any of the sort of like special mechanics were up at the school. Nice. So that's where I was. That was my summer gig. But it was fun. And I think that it was at that time, Skip Barber as a racing school, it was so nice that they had the driving school, because where else do you learn car control?
Yeah, exactly.
There's nowhere. Like driver's ed doesn't teach it.
Yep.
So it was nice. And also, I think there was a coolness factor that you're like, I'm on a racetrack.
Yeah, exactly.
Over these 16-year-olds that are on a skid pad.
Oh, yeah.
Feels way cooler.
Yeah.
At a racetrack.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking time with us, man. How do people learn about Stoke Squad, YouTube channel? How do they find you?
Yeah, I would say my Instagram, Lucas Catania, YouTube, Lucas Catania would be kind of my main areas that I'm active on. I don't really share much of my racing on there. I think you would, you think I'm more of like a skier guy than anything, but yeah, I'm telling myself I'll be more active with racing, but yeah, Lucas Catania.
Well, racing needs guys like you to show, behind the scenes and
absolutely
make that connection to viewers, because nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
Or very few people are doing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if anyone wants to come to Virginia or Barber or Indy or Road America, we get paddock passes. So
cool.
People can come and we usually always have a few people who show up and they're like, wow, this is actually nothing like I expected and way cooler. And
so if someone's in the area and wants to go,
yeah,
reach you on your socials.
Yeah, email lucas@lucasitalian.com. But
well, SRO has pretty good access too.
They do. And
Like you can get it in the pit and all that.
And that's what people get surprised on. They're like, wow, I can walk right up to the BMW team or Porsche and like see the car and stuff. So I think that's a good way to get people into it. But
someone get a free Stoke Squad sticker if they get a paddock pass from
heck
you?
Yeah.
Okay. There it is.
We got stickies.
You went to school for biochemistry.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is alien life on other planets?
I think so, yeah. How can there not be?
I wouldn't know. I would have to ask a biochemist.
I don't know. I feel like it'd be wrong for me to say there's no other life out there somewhere.
Right.
In galaxies or solar systems.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if we think we know everything, but there's no way, there's not some other species out there that is way more advanced than us,
or just way less. There's got to be.
Or less, exactly. Yeah, or less. But
like organic chemistry, it doesn't seem like it's that different than all other chemistry, right? Or is it?
Or
I'm asking.
There's different types of chemistry for sure. There's physical chemistry, organic chemistry.
Not organic, whatever. Biochemistry.
Biochem, yeah.
How different is that from organic?
It's pretty different.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. You want to hear a potassium joke?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Clever.
You've heard that before, haven't you?
Did you look that up?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I was Googling chemistry jokes. Just in case we ran out of things to talk about.
Thanks for spending time, dude.
Yeah.
It's good seeing your face.
Yeah, dude.
It's been a minute.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, you look healthy.
Yeah, so do you.
Good.